It's game day, Spurs Mavericks. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope everybody's having a great day. I'm pretty sure you are having a phenomenal day today. It's opening night for your San Antonio Spurs, the home opener, might I add, against the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to be talking about that and much more right here on Locked On Spurs. Well, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. You guys are the everydayers, and we appreciate that. So as mentioned, it is game day. We're going to be talking about Spurs and Mavericks. Yes, regular season game, not a preseason game, not a mini camp. No, a preseason game. Season starts today, not only for the Spurs, but for the Dallas Mavericks. How appropriate, considering the two Texas rivals are likely to clash throughout this season. We'll have a guest on later on to help me preview tonight's game. He is Landon Buford. He is a contributor with Fan Nation, specifically with the Miami Heat, and he also covers the Dallas Mavericks. He's based out in Dallas. He'll talk about that and much more in just a few minutes. And we're also beginning to game predictions. And I'm going to ask Landon, why in the bleep were Mavericks coaches using big paddles? We got to know what happened with all that as they prepare to face Wemby. But before we get into all that, listen, this regular season starts tonight at the Frost Bank Center. The new chapter in Spurs basketball is here. The Wemby era officially begins. Sure, there was regular season, it's preseason, summer league, but now it's for real. These games matter. And tonight will be the focus on him. Yes, it'll be about Wemby tonight. Devin Vassell could probably go for 40 points tonight, but if Wemby does one dunk, it'll be all over the place. I mean, that's how crazy it's going to be starting today, moving forward in his Spurs career. It's going to be all about Wemby. And look, it's going to be a tough out. The Spurs got themselves a handful tonight versus Dallas. But, regardless, win or lose, it's going to be a great day for Spurs fans. Because, again, it's the start of a new chapter in Spurs history. It's the Wemby show. It's the Devin show. It's the Jeremy Sohan, the Keldon Johnson show. Now it's their time. This is their chapter. That old chapter, the big three, that's done. It's over with. LMA, DeMar DeRozan, that bridge, it's over with. Yeah, this is their time now. These are the kids. They're giving the keys to the cars to the kids. So now they're going to see if they can drive. And they're probably going to hit a pothole between now and then, and they're probably going to stumble. They're probably going to pick up a parking ticket here, do really stupid things on the court. But that's just part of the process. Don't forget, this Spurs team is still in a rebuilding phase. They're not out of it yet. They're almost there. We'll see how this season pans out. But they're still trying to see who fits with Wemby. Will players be flipped? Can they add more players, trade for players, pick up the waiver wire to help Wemby accomplish his goal? He's made it very clear, even yesterday at practice, saying he wants to win titles. Well, whatever Wemby wants, Wemby gets. And if he needs to win titles sooner than later, I'm pretty sure the Spurs will make everything possible to bring in the pieces needed to help him and the team accomplish that goal. But it's still a thrilling night tonight. I know you're excited. I'm excited. I'll be at the Frost Bank Center covering tonight's game, so I can only expect a madhouse. I mean, yesterday's practice was just crazy. Just everybody there to talk to Wemby. He was it. That was it. There was the only guy that available was Wemby. And let's just say if preseason indication of how much attention he's going to draw, wait for an entire 82-game series. By the way, he did say he wants to play all games if he's healthy. So we'll see how the Spurs and him battle that out with the load management stuff. But there's so many storylines, so many things we're going to get into throughout the season. There's just too many to get into. But today we're just going to focus on one thing, and that is Spurs Mavericks. And as mentioned, I have a guest today, Landon Buford. He covers the Dallas Mavericks. He's based in Dallas, and he also writes about the Miami Heat for Fan Nation. I was going to bring him on. He is Landon Buford. Where is he? There's the big guy. How you doing, Landon?
Good yourself. Thank you for the opportunity as always. I appreciate it, and I'm ready to go on this, preview between Spurs Mav, this rivalry that is, taking place for decades.
Even when the Spurs were really bad and the Mavericks were on the rise, didn't matter what part of the spectrum the Spurs and Mavericks on, they were always competitive. There was one point, Landon, I'm pretty sure you know about this. the game spread, wins and losses between Spurs and Mavericks for years was about 7 points. That was it. They were always competitive. That was Rick Carlisle getting, the best of Popovich and vice versa, and the players and LMA. I mean, it's so good. I just hope with the Spurs kind of starting on the rise, you Mavericks are already there, way ahead of the division, that those old school rivalry vibes come back. I think the fans want that, don't they?
Yeah, from the fan base that I've been part of the fan base that I've been talking to, they want to see a competitive division, especially between the Spurs and Mavericks, like the old days, as they both had to go through each other to get to Western Conference championships and finals appearances as well.
Yeah, Landon and I are going to be previewing the game in just a few minutes, but make sure to follow him on Twitter or X at Landon Buford. You see it on your screen. Again, he is a contributor for Fan Nation about the Miami Heat, and then on his own, he covers the Dallas Mavericks because he lives in Dallas at LandonBuford.com. He helps me out too whenever I need some Spurs, Mavericks information. He definitely feeds it to me. So thank you for that, Landon. But I got to ask you before we get into the preview, what was with those big paddles that the Mavericks coaches were using in practice? Can you tell us about that? Were you there that day?
I wasn't there that day, but I obviously saw it on social media. It's kind of hard to miss. But they were using it from what I was told, and obviously saw from the clip. They're using it to mimic Wemby's length.
Okay.
For obviously at the rim, and then obviously at the 3-point line, where we've seen a couple of them he sent into the next row. You know what I'm saying? At the height of people's shots too. So I mean, that's exactly why they were using those to help players gimmick or mimic his length, and then also being able to adjust with arcing shots and things of that nature as well.
Yeah. We saw this in the Spurs Warriors preseason game where Jonathan Kuminga was doing high arcing shots over Wemby, and he was connecting. Now, pretty sure players are going to be adapting to his length. You saw the Mavericks use those big paddles, Kuminga adjusting his shot. You were in practice recently. What have they been talking about Wemby? You sent me some information, but what's been the vibe? You sent me something about Jason Kidd talking about him. What is Dallas saying?
They think he's a problem. They think that he is
to sum up, right?
To sum up, Jason Kidd thinks he's a problem. Obviously, him and Kyrie say he's warranted as the number one pick from what they can see via highlights and obviously on film. Lucas said, today that his ability to handle the ball for his height is amazing, unbelievable. Obviously, Luka also talked about, the hype, of, how he was aware of him before the hype, and offered him some advice of just keep playing basketball and in regards to, just stay focused, basically. Stay focused on what he needs to do.
Yeah, I think it's not just the Dallas Mavericks. I think the entire league is on notice about Wemby. You saw recently, Kevin Garnett and Paul George just kind of do a 180 on their thoughts on Wemby. It came out like, well, we don't know who this kid is. Preseason comes and we changed our mind. He might be the real deal. We'll see. These are the real games tonight. Your Dallas Mavericks get the first crack at Wemby. I think is appropriate considering it is the Dallas rivalry. It is in Texas. International flair, Wemby, France, Luka, Slovenia. I think Dallas Mavericks have one of the highest amount of international players on the roster, and right behind them are the Spurs. So good international game, good for the league. And Landon, Dallas, San Antonio are the premier game tomorrow night. They're the late game. So a lot of hype is going into tonight's game. But when we get back, we're going to be looking at the game. What is going on between these Spurs, these Mavericks? I got some information for Landon about what Jeremy Sohan had to say about taking on Dallas and much more right here on Locked On Spurs with Landon Buford. And I want to talk to you about PrizePicks. It's the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You want to get PrizePicks right now. It's just you versus the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of players and including the pros, and those sharks, will you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projection and watch the winnings roll in. That's where you got to get it right now. Look, as much as I love those Spurs and everything, I love watching the NBA just in general. So I go to PrizePicks and when I want to play some daily fantasy sports. Now, look, PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money. Yes, you can win up that much during football season. Yeah, so if you're looking into the NFL, you want to play daily fantasy sports, go get PrizePicks right now. Look, you've been able to test your skills. They got quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, enormous selection of players, stat types, all that. They got it all in one simple app at PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So if you're playing NFL, we want you to pick Saquon Barkley. It goes on and on. That's how much fun you can have with PrizePicks. They offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discount on select player project up to 25%, provide even more value. With PrizePicks reboot policy, your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So for NFL games and college football games, top 25 matchups, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. Look at that. Go get PrizePicks right now. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. You heard that right, up to $100. So you want to go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. You want to go there right now. Go get it. I got it on my cell phone. You should get it on your mobile device. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Landon Buford. He is a NBA writer. He writes for Fan Nation, I believe. Yes, and he covers the Miami Heat on that platform. And then on his own platform, LandonBuford.com, he covers the Dallas Mavericks. And boy, does he cover the Dallas Mavericks. Whenever I need information, I go to him or he comes to me. He goes, "Hey, Jeff, I got something for you." And he hands it to me, and I love him for that. Thank you so much for that, Landon. By the way, I think you have another. Your Dallas has another one up on the Spurs. You have more international players than the Spurs, don't they?
Yeah, they have 7 if you actually include Kyrie, who, according to Google, was born in Australia. So technically, he is international.
You Mavericks, Mavericks got to find every little angle, right? Every little thing just to get the Spurs, right? Just to get a one up on the Spurs. But speaking of Spurs and Mavericks, it's showtime. It's the home opener for San Antonio, the road opener for your Dallas Mavericks, Landon. Tell us about Dallas. What have they done during the offseason? Is Kyrie and Luka going to work out with a full season under their belt? What is a projection for Dallas this upcoming season?
I think that they'll probably be a 4th or 5th seed, maybe a 6 at the lowest with those two. Obviously, they're still trying to work some of the kinks out. Luka, we don't know if he's going to play tomorrow or tonight. I'm sorry. He's practiced the last couple games, but when he spoke today during his availability, he said that he doesn't know yet. We'll see. I would, if I had to guess, it'd be a game time decision. With that, obviously off the court, I mean, they've been able to connect. You can see them on, when they were overseas chatting and things of that nature. It's just, what are we going to see? What are we going to see it on the court? Because last year, Kyrie coming in mid-season is not enough time to turn stuff around. As far as the Mavericks, Lively has been a major piece of focus this offseason for the Mavericks. Obviously, that was their first round pick. They've brought people like Seth Curry back, who Luke is very familiar with. Obviously, Maxi Kleber's still here. You got Tim Hardaway Jr. is still here. We'll see if he actually will embrace his 6-man role, because that looks like that's exactly where Jason Kidd wants him to be this upcoming season. And Derek Jones Jr. is here. That's gonna provide another wing for and length for this Mavericks team. Obviously, Rashad Holmes is here too, as well. They brought back Dwight Powell, who's also a Iron Man and also a community guy as well. So I mean, I like what I see thus far in training camp from this Mavericks team.
What has been the vibe about the addition of Grant Williams?
Oh, they love it. They love it. His energy, his ability to obviously stretch the floor, his leadership, obviously him having experience in the finals, the Eastern Conference finals as well with the Boston Celtics. They love him. And he just can't stop talking. He's got everybody's attention. He just can't stop talking. He's a talker. I can see him coming when his career is over. I can see him in the media at some point, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And look, this team didn't do too much tinkering. I mean, obviously the addition of Lively in the draft and then Grant Williams, but there was nothing really a major overall, kind of like what the Spurs are going through right now. Number one with Wemby, and then, recently when they had traded DeJounte, nothing major like that. In the preseason, Landon, who stood out for you that was not named Luka or Kyrie?
Blake Lively. I mean, Lively was I liked what I see, his protection at the rim. Obviously, I think he's going to draw the assignment of women tomorrow, so good luck with that. But but no,
well, you can back him up. How's that?
Yeah.
You can come in if he needs an extra hand.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to reach, but it's okay. But no, I like him. His ability to come in and actually showcase that he's a defensive presence, kind of like his mentor Tyson Chandler was when they won the championship in 2011. He was the defensive anchor. That might be your defensive anchor along with Maxi Kleber on that back end. But him, obviously Grant Williams. I wasn't too familiar with him. Obviously, up until this point because of his time in Boston, and you don't get to see people's personality when you only get to see them one time a year. You know what I'm saying? So So
is Jason Kidd on the hot seat?
No.
Do you think he needs to produce this year?
I don't think he's on the hot seat. I know that me and a couple other reporters asked that to Mark Cuban directly last year, and he was like, "There's no way that you can tell by just one season." They went to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. Last year, I mean, when you trade all of your defense to acquire a player like Kyrie Irving, which you have to do, like they had to do that. He's not. I don't think he's on a hot seat. Plus, Kyrie's one of his Jason Kidd was one of Kyrie's favorite players growing up and things of that nature. So they just have to gel and put it together. I don't think he's on a hot seat. Now, if it continues down the road, there might be a conversation, but they had Rick Carlisle for 11 years plus, and he didn't make it to the playoffs really after the championship. So he was on borrowed time here too. So I get it that he won a championship, but if you're going to take, here in Dallas, they don't fire people everywhere. I mean, every year. With the Cowboys, they had, Garrett for 10 years. So, I mean,
it's a good point,
so they don't, there's not a lot of turnover here in Dallas. Yeah. As far as the coaching staff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And look, you think this Dallas team, though, from the fan base they're expecting this team to do well this season, playoffs, maybe beyond?
I think from what I'm hearing, they're expecting to at least make the playoffs. I mean, obviously last year was last year. I mean, they were a patient bunch. Obviously, they would have liked to see them go to the playoffs after, obviously the trade. Everybody was saying finals that quickly dissolved. But they want to see at least the playoffs. I know Shaq picked them to win a championship this year. I don't know if they're they're that that close. That was his pick during the Q&A. But I see them making the playoffs at least.
Yeah, just to keep you informed about the San Antonio Spurs, obviously, the big acquisition was Wemby. I don't think we need to go into that. We know he's going to be a problem. Your Mavericks are aware of that with the paddles and then what Kidd is talking about. But I think this young team from San Antonio is being overlooked right now. Vegas has the Spurs winning about 29 games. There's no way. I cannot see this team getting that mark at 29 games, according to Vegas. I got this team high 30s, maybe 40s. I think a lot of people are discounting the fact that the bulk of this roster took a beating last year, but within those beatings, there were a lot of lessons learned. So you're seeing Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Zach Collins coming in with that cohesion already from going through what they went through last year, just getting curb stomped almost daily. And then I think they're going to translate that into the experience factor. And then you throw in Wemby. I mean, forget about it. I think that's a recipe for greatness in San Antonio. Now, for your Mavericks, Jeremy Sohan is now, at least for tonight, is the starting point guard.
Okay.
That starting unit is big and long. It's Wemby, obviously, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Zach Collins. That potentially could be a defensive juggernaut right there. Just Wemby alone, his spacing, his alteration. So, in my opinion, I think you guys are going to have a lot of issues with that starting five. Now, coming off the bench is going to be interesting because they have a seasoned veteran like Trey Jones. He's going to his fourth year. Who, again, another player that goes under the radar. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to make you get off your seat. But at the end of the day, Brandon, you're going to look at the stat sheet and be like, wait, who did this? Who got 15 points, eight assists, 6 rebounds, maybe 1 turnover, and went to the free throw line about 5. I mean, you're gonna be like, whoa, who's this? He has some quiet games, but off that bench, there's some firepower too. There's Devontae Graham, he can cook. He's an instant offense guy. There's C.D. Osman, another acquisition over the offseason for San Antonio. There's Charles Bassey, a bouncy big, a quick rebounder. As a matter of fact, he led the team in rebounds. It wasn't Wemby in the preseason. It was him. It was Charles Bassey. That guy's come off the bench. So this team, I think, potentially for San Antonio could be a problem in time. I'm not saying day one tonight. I think in the next 2-3 months, once they start clicking, I think they're going to get it. Now, speaking of Sohan, a few days ago during practice, he told media that he's looking forward to guarding Kyrie Irving. So shots fired, no, but it's, to me, that's what I'm focusing on tonight. I'm looking at that matchup. How is Sohan going to handle Kyrie Irving? What matchup are you interested in looking at?
That Lively when he's on him, because I know he's not going to be on Wemby the whole time, because obviously if he gets in foul trouble, you're going to have to pull him out, right? And you have to count the rest. I'm thinking, that matchup between Lively and Wembley, and then if when Maxi Kleber's in there, him versus Wembley as well. Some others, I can see that point, the point guard position being a problem. Obviously, whoever's guarding Luka, because I know that they're talking about him, trying to be off the ball a little bit more. He was saying that, obviously he's played that in, overseas. Obviously, people are talking about that's the issue that we want to see here and have that transition. But those are the matchups I want to see. And then obviously how you guys' bench does against our bench. Now, like I said, we don't know if Luka's playing tomorrow. If it is that case, then I would love to see whatever matchup that he's involved with on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it should be a great night. I think it's going to be a thrilling game. I think it's probably another classic Spurs Mavericks game down to the wire. I think it's going to come down to that. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what Vegas predicts. Vegas has Mavericks with a 3.5 favorite. It's going to be a close game if Vegas is right. So we'll see. I'm interested to see if Dallas gets physical with Wemby, with Kleber you mentioned, and maybe even Grant Williams. I can see that, just going at him. And he's going to have a huge target on his back, and your Dallas Mavericks get the first crack. Coming up next, we're going to put it out there. We're going to see who is going to win tonight's matchup. I'm pretty sure Landon's going to pick San Antonio. I guarantee it. I know he's going to pick San Antonio. So we're going to do that coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs with Landon Buford. But first, let's talk about Mudslinger's drive-through coffee. You want to go to Mudslinger's drive-through right now. If you're in San Antonio, go to 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's in the 281-1604 area for some delicious drinks and more. And those more, they're mini donuts. I highly recommend getting the mini donuts. They have specialty drinks like the OG, which is the Orange Julius recreated only at Mudslinger's drive-through coffee. They have the Sub-Zero, which is a hat tip to UTSA's Frank Harris. They have the Alien. Take a wild guess who's that about. That's about Wemby. That's a full can of Red Bull, kiwi, and green apple mixed together. Very, very good. And it'll power you through your day. They have the signature drink called the Mudslinger. That'll get you really introduction into the coffee world because Mudslinger has it all. Everybody goes to Mudslingers in San Antonio. They're open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Over 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong. And they're a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs, and they love serving the community and interacting with fans. They are everywhere on social media, on X, on Threads, on Facebook, on TikTok, on pickup platform, Instagram. They're everywhere, and they're always having an ear out for your suggestions on new drinks. So several fans of Mudslingers have requested drinks be made, and guess what? Mudslingers delivered. Trust me, I know. If you go there, ask them about who inspired the OG OJ. That'd be me. Yeah. So go to Mudslingers drive-through coffee right now. Again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. Every day, open 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Friendly staff, dairy alternatives, the Red Bull infused lightning bolt series. They have it all only at Mudslingers drive-through coffee. Life is too short for bland coffee.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Landon Buford. Follow him on Twitter at Landon Buford. He is an NBA writer for Fan Nation, specifically with about the Miami Heat. And then on his own, he covers the Dallas Mavericks. You can follow his work at landonbuford.com. I want to give you a virtual high five, man, because you always help me out with that Spurs stuff. By the way, you can go to kens5.com right now and see Jason Kidd talk about Wemby, an article that I wrote about Wemby, and you'll see Landon's tweet there and showing everything that Jason Kidd had to say at kens5.com/Spurs. All right, Landon, I know you're going to pick the Spurs, right? I know you're going to pick the Spurs tonight, right? Because
it's going to be a close game. I you know what? If Luka's not playing, I do have the Spurs winning the game. I don't have the score, but if Luka's not playing, I definitely have the Spurs. I think Wemby will have a field day against this Mavs team. In regards to now, I don't have a point total, but I mean, I think he'll have a good showing tonight.
Yeah, is that if Luka does play, is that going to be the play? It's just star to star, kind of like whatever Luka can do, Wemby can do, whatever Wemby do. Do you think it's going to be kind of the battle of the stars, or in my opinion, I think it's going to come down to the Spurs defense. Yes, I know there's Wemby, but I think the slowing down Kyrie and Luka is going to be very key.
I think so too. Obviously, you guys have built your culture on defense, dating back to when Tim Duncan was still the man in the middle along with David Robinson. But I think defense is always the key. Obviously, Jason Kidd is preaching that on the Mavericks side too. Even Luka's been trying to improve his defense over the last couple of years. I know a couple of years ago with him in the lineup they were ranked 5th at one point. But I think if it's not a lot of points coming, it's going to come down to a defensive matchup. And I think that with that being said, I mean, it could be that's where the close game comes from. Yeah.
Again, Vegas has this, at least right now, this recording, a 3.5 favorite for Dallas. So, excuse me, another indication of another great game. I'm going with San Antonio. I just think I think I'm banking on that defense that I've been seeing in preseason. That's got it. Well, I mean, last year they were at the bottom of the barrel. There's no place to go up but up, So it's improved. I do have it coming down to the wire. I think it's either going to be a Wemby or Devin Vassell rescuing the Spurs on the San Antonio side. Is there a player tonight that's on the Dallas side that you would tell Spurs fans, look, watch for this guy. This guy's actually pretty good. Is it lively when it comes down to the draft pick?
I mean, it's lively. And then obviously Josh Green, who I didn't mention earlier, has been working on his game. Dante Exum. There's a few that have a lot to prove this upcoming season. But outside of, lively, Grant Williams, wants to prove that, Boston looked over him, because obviously they traded him, right? So, it's those guys. Obviously, Exum coming back, fighting his way back into the league. He's somebody else that's hungry, and then obviously Josh Green, who's been improving over the last 4 or 5 years. So,
It is tonight, Spurs Mavericks, the home opener, regular season opener for your Spurs, and for Landon's Mavs, the regular season opener, road opener. So when did the Mavericks play at home? When's their first home game?
Against the Brooklyn Nets. So we get to see Dodo. We get to see Dodo and all those guys, Spencer Dinwiddie come back, etc. on Friday. Is the Mavs home opener.
Good stuff. Hey, Landon, tell everybody how they can follow you on social media and where they can read your stuff.
So you can follow me on X at Landon Buford, Instagram at Landon Buford. If you want to see most of my writing, it's on LandonBuford.com, and then also Fan Nation Miami.
Simple as that.
As well.
There you go. Simple. Landon makes it easy for you. And,
exactly.
Again, we thank you, Landon. Yeah. You make it easy for us. We thank you, Landon, for taking time to preview tonight's Spurs Mavericks game. Look, here's a Mavericks guy, and he's even seeing the impact of Wemby. So that should tell you something already, San Antonio for Spurs fans, right there. I mean, he can admit it. So it should be a fun night. It's a problem. He's going to be a problem. But we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Ken's 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. We'll be back tomorrow, likely to wrap up what happened in Game 1 for your San Antonio Spurs. Hopefully a W over that guy's Mavericks. And then dive into more silver and black, what we took away from opening night. But for Landon Buford, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.